Right.
Okay.
It might be a nice hockey player.
Can you
but I ain't no
imagine,
rules.
they bring in roller skating back?
So what are we gonna do? Call this to order? We gotta get,
Me?
we gotta get going on this, 5 o'clock,
Well, you go.
I'll second that.
yeah,
Okay,
we can get something accomplished.
Oh, yeah.
And then what do we have a motion to, have to make a motion to approve minutes?
yep,
Motion to approve minutes? I'll second it.
okay, vote. Okay,
Look, we got Earl.
we got Earl.
Good, have a nice day, Earl.
Well, my house ain't burned down today.
That's good.
I got stuck with the faucets and I couldn't touch the last damn water on. But it burned up my hot water heater. But
So now what are we gonna move on
then I
to?
realized I was supposed to be.
Do we have anybody on Zoom?
Yep,
We do.
Adam's here.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, sir. Good to see
Hey,
you.
how are you? Good to
I
see
didn't,
you.
I didn't recognize you had a uniform, sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm representing you're doing the warden update, so
Is there anything to update?
there really isn't. I talked to Lee. He said that there have been no violations since the last meeting and no complaints from any of the diggers. So he didn't really have anything new. I just said it'd be nice to just come and say hi anyways, because I haven't come to a meeting yet, and I figured I'd introduce myself too, and just see if there's anything that you guys wanted from me, or there was anything that wanted me to keep in mind. Let me know. So I'm available.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for attending.
Yep.
I guess no news is good news on that front.
Yeah. Yes.
So that's short and sweet. I guess hopefully that will hold through as we come into the summer season. We know we have kind of a reduced resource, so I don't expect a whole flock of people coming here, but it could happen with a little bit more with the demand going up and seasonality of it.
Right. And, like I said, we rely on, you guys out there too, to let us know who to go after. So
We know.
that should work.
We did that before. When I had that old police car, they got nervous when they see it. I had the old Chevy.
As they should. I would have been nervous too if I seen you come down.
That's all I had to do, and they got that.
Start dumping their baskets. huh?
Left the clams right there.
Right.
You guys got big plans for any patrolling over there on the boat?
Well,
it's
so when we usually do 1 or 2 trips. I'll go with John. If if Lee or anybody else wants to go on a separate trip, be happy to take them with us or meet them over there. If we have something in particular to look at that, to go over around, going to Bartlett's or something and going to check around that area. We usually take a peek, but unless we hear about anything, then we don't go out there too often.
You gonna trailer the boat
It's
over
in
and
a-
launch it over there?
We could, I could take the work boat. It's probably what I do. That would be quick. And that way, somebody would still have the patrol boat, but if we had to, in emergency, obviously we could trailer the patrol boat over there too. So,
Yeah, that's a tough spot to launch a boat sometimes.
yeah. I mean, if the weather's nice, we can probably, I don't know, we're about 30, 40 minutes maybe, if we can haul, going about 50. If we can get all the way
I'll go on patrol with you.
through. You're more than welcome.
On a nice
Anytime.
day.
Absolutely.
Really nice day. All right, well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Do we want to just keep moving right on?
Yep.
State
Yep.
update?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Anna, Annis is here, so from the state.
Hi, Anna, how are you?
All right.
We
Hey,
see her.
everyone. Hey, everyone.
How's
I
it
don't
going?
really have any specific updates. I was wondering if you guys wanted me to participate, I be here tonight to talk about any of the items like the Army Corps and the recruitment boxes with Chris and your allocation and management plans. So that's why I was kind of signing in for that. And then if you guys want to try to do anything depending upon the water quality updates. So
Yeah,
other
okay.
than that,
Chris isn't here tonight, but I've spoken with him and I do have a little bit of an update on the Army Corps permits and the boxes situation that we can go into in a little bit.
sounds
We can
good.
go- Okay. Cool. All right.
So I guess under old business, you have Ed Montague and Brian Henkel here to talk about the Gilpatrick Code and water quality with Hannah Baraka.
Well, there's two Hannahs.
I'm
Oh,
interested in Gilpatrick Cove. I always have been, because you didn't have to climb down to get there. For the elders, that's one thing. You see, I'm 86 now. And they're opening their skating rink for me. In other words, I've lived through the 2 generations.
well, yeah, it would be, your point's good, is that it would be good to try to preserve
The
and
elders,
improve
let them,
access to.
yeah, give this
Places.
to the elders, they're like 80 and over or whatever.
All right,
So I haven't met you.
Or 90 and over.
Previously, so I'm Brian Hinkle, I'm the Public Works Director. I started in the role in January, took over from Tony Smith, who was in that role for quite a number of years. And Ed Montague was guy. Yeah, I'm Ed Montague. I'm the wastewater superintendent for the town.
thanks for coming, guys.
So as far as an update, I don't think we really had any information as to what you wanted us to present. I hadn't heard from anybody.
Yeah, we had a request about, coming here, and I didn't know if there was anything specific. I hadn't reached out to see if there was, and
Yeah, I think what we were trying to do is figure out what there was for, like, any, numbers or anything like that for Gilpatrick Cove for water quality or anything like that.
Seems like some of the paperwork originally that wasn't on computer yet disappeared, correct?
They had hotspots in
Yeah,
the cove. But what I've heard over the time, that when we tried to open it one time, that there was hotspots, and I think they were self-created.
Well, there was an issue.
People do, yeah, there was an issue.
There was an issue at one point.
But,
Not real. I don't have any real specific dates, 2016, 2017, I think we located a sewer lateral from a residence that was tied into the storm drain and was discharging.
Also, I was interested in.
Tied it into the sewer main, so that's been taken care of. And I'm pretty sure that was the only issue as far as sewer
Yeah,
getting into the code, because I looked at the DMR website and the testing that they do, and everything seems to be fine.
yeah.
So there's been no,
That's what I thought.
Hannah, has there been any fluctuation in the numbers in the last couple of years?
Yeah, let me switch over to that screen so I can tell you. So the sample station at the head of the cove, the water quality has gone down a little bit, but it still meets approved standards. Our holdup right now is there's a black pipe that runs across the mud flat right there. And we're not sure what that is. It looks similar to overboard discharge effluent pipes, which I'd be surprised if there was one there, but we need to figure out what that pipe is from before we can move forward with that. And then to have a chance of reopening that, we would need to reevaluate the wastewater treatment plant closure. And we have new guidance, we have a new protocols for the wastewater treatment plants. So I believe it is possible, but we'd need that. It would be conditionally approved at the very most, based on proper functioning of the wastewater treatment plant. And other than, I think you had one overflow near the marina at one point, but other than that, I don't remember hearing much about issues at the wastewater treatment plant. So I'm not incredibly concerned about that. But we'd set up an MOU with the Public Works to make sure it's reported when there's an issue. But first we have to get that pipe figured out or removed if it's nothing.
Do you guys know what that is?
I've seen the pipe. I don't know what it is. We've mapped, video camera and mapped our collection system through that area. There's no indication that we have anything that runs across there. I'm not sure how old the pipe is, where it came from.
Right, since that's an old cast iron pipe,
Yeah,
that could
that's
easily go back to the twenties or thirties.
Yeah.
And
it's
be
not-
private in private
Yeah,
origin.
It's probably in a
Yeah,
state
private,
that's
sure.
100 years gone.
Is that
Yes.
something is that something you guys have seen before, like unused,
Oh,
your
yeah.
type thing, you're
yeah.
thinking, like, is that something you guys have run into before?
We've run into it before where we found like an overboard discharge pipe that just wasn't cut off. It's just a black rubber pipe. And we've seen them that they just weren't cut off when it was removed. I don't have a record of there ever being an overboard discharge in that area, I don't think, but especially with the wastewater treatment plant there, I'd be surprised. But we have seen weird things like that pop up before where someone just wasn't ever hooked up to the actual system, even though they think they were.
Yeah,
So
Um,
what would we do to try to figure out what the pipe is?
Or to remove it?
That's something your plumbing inspector would look into. And I'm not sure how they'd go about it. We really just identify the sources and then leave it to your plumbing inspector or code enforcement officer to figure out what it is.
So we need to find out what that is as
Sure.
one of the steps for you to open that up.
Yes, yep,
Okay,
Most of those old pipings were pretty straightforward, no pun intended, though.
Yeah.
If they put a line between A and B, they tried not to have any crooks, so you must be able to pretty much tell where that pipe originally was going to a degree.
mhm.
Did you say it was rubber though?
Yeah, I heard you say that. I
Yeah, it
think
was the rubber pipe.
So it's not super old
So
cast
it-
iron,
It
but
isn't cast
No.
iron, you sure it's rubber?
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
it's not flat PVC,
Hmm.
No, like it's
rubber.
do you know where it is, David?
I got a vague recollection of the last time we. were
Is it
surveying.
low in the tide line, east, west side? Do you know any?
you
Oh,
can
neat.
see it's on the east side of the cove. And you can
Oh.
see it coming out of the rocks and then it just runs down into the mud flat and it disappears below the low tide line.
So there's,
Tried following it a couple times to see if I could find the end and I couldn't find the end of it.
identifying it would be one thing, but then if we did identify it as maybe not being utilized, it would still have to be removed for it to have a conditional opening ever there.
It would relieve a lot of headache for you, and that could be just cutting it off where it goes under the road. Along the shore, so it could just be cutting it off there.
Rubber would date it back to World War II. And that, because that's rubber was kind of made, so it's anywhere from 45-ish forward.
Yeah,
That's.
Well, it's just interesting. It's nice to hear that the standards have improved from what they were, like that there's a potential for something there.
Yeah.
Do you guys, like, would you guys be able to point us in the direction of having an inspector peek at it by the road or anything like that, or?
or do you think Kim would have some sort of recollection?
Kim about the possibility of her doing it, but I would expect that if you want to know what's going on with that pipe, you're gonna want to hire somebody to figure out. And
Yeah, somebody's gonna have to go up through it.
Yeah.
trace it and figure out really where it goes. And that I think is beyond what Kim would be
Right.
willing to do or able to do. And so hiring somebody, I think would be the right route. But
Somebody-
backing up just a little bit, Hannah, the process for opening this up provisionally, is that something that the state is wanting to do in multiple places, or was this a particular request for Patrick Cove? Or I'm not familiar with this since I'm relatively new in this position. I don't know if this was going on with the previous public works director or not. And then I guess I don't know for sure what is in the MOU, and I'd like a little bit more information regarding what public works role would be in this MOU and what needs there are from us to assist in this and how we are a component of it.
yeah, so usually our areas with a conditional status have a CSO or an SSO that regularly discharges that we monitor. But for this, it would just be that when the plant stops functioning properly, if you have a major discharge event that's abnormal for your wastewater treatment plant, you'd let us know. And it would be, I'd have to work with my supervisor to figure out all of our new policies around that. But I can work with you a little bit to get more information for that.
So
We
part of-
haven't reevaluated many wastewater treatment plants for quite a while, so.
Part of the conditions of our license to discharge our effluent is, there's a certain acreage that is closed. The conditions that, due to the discharge and the potential that we might have a disinfection failure, which could happen, they close a certain area, and Gilpatrick Cove is part of that. We pay a fee to the state, and I'm sure, have you been working with the DEP in conjunction with this to get this taken care of? Because that condition would have to be removed from our permit.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've heard,
Oh, now you're really digging lines.
yeah, I've heard that there's I've heard tale of what you're describing. I don't know it in detail, but it's basically, yeah, probably. It's kind of like the brick wall that project runs into. So maybe all this would be for naught.
Well, I wasn't sure I wasn't up to speed with what you were doing and what you're looking for.
Yeah, I remember talking to David, I think David Miller was there at one point years ago, and he said there was a chance they could reduce the quarter end of that a little bit enough so that Gilpatrick Cove could be put in there.
Yeah,
So
we would need something. from-
there is a chance that you could reduce that area a little bit. Usually there is a quarter-mile radius around one of those.
Thank you.
That highlighted area is what we have to go by. That is where we end up paying a fee to the state every year for percentage of acreage or for the acreage that's closed from shellfish harvesting. So,
Do you know what the zones are from, said you have a map or anything?
yeah, on the DMR, there's a map. I believe their website, they have a map. I mean, I kind of get you a little picture here. So this
Oh, thank
whole
you.
area is due to the treatment plant.
Okay.
And that's Gilpatrick, and those are the,
Oh, so
Sample place.
all for the treatment plant and nothing that has to do with any sort of discharges in the area.
It's just the fact that it exists. It's just like the one over to Gregoire Park and Bar Harbor.
Yeah.
Since it exists, there has to be a closure.
In
area.
case there's an emergency,
There
as
is
you
a
described.
potential that-
Yeah.
Exactly.
we use
And
a beach.
I think our interest is like, kind of like what Earl was alluding to, like just access for local people. And it was always such a productive spot and there is still a little bit of a resource there. So I think that was kind of the committee's interest. It's just such a great spot for.
That all the time, and that, once I kept digging it,
I guess
it produced a
Hannah,
new
you had-
generation
you
of
had referenced some
plants.
changes
Oh,
to your
I
regulations.
dug them, I
Yes.
dug,
I wasn't
two
sure
or
if that
three
was about as well,
generations.
and whether or not that dovetails.
you don't know if you
with
ever
what
see
we're
a picture of me in the
talking
paper, digging clams
about.
on
DEP closure that.
Gary Moore.
Closure.
It's the only time.
Discharge.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yep, and then I just want to be mindful that you guys don't lose areas that you're harvesting right now too. Like if we looked at the area, it could potentially have to take over Fernald Cove instead, which I don't really want to trade one of your harvest areas for another. So I want to be
Yeah.
mindful of that when we reevaluate that wastewater
Funnel
treatment.
Cove at Southwest Harbor.
But the
Yeah,
point's
it
probably
Right.
valid about losing area if things were shuffled
Yeah.
around.
Yeah,
That's
But
all.
that was all dug in 2 weeks' time, from clams to no clams.
But I guess I'm just unclear still.
They
Hannah.
came from all over the state.
Hannah, I'm still unclear about what changes you're talking about when you're saying you have rule changes that
Amazing.
potentially have a provisional opening
I
here.
was digging the
Yeah,
rest
we're-
of the way.
yep, so
Okay.
FDA gives us guidance on how to create closures around pollution sources, including wastewater treatment plants, overboard discharges, marinas, anything that can release fecal pollution. And the director and supervisors have gone through with the new guidance that the FDA has given us, and they've created a new protocol for us to work towards evaluating wastewater treatment plant areas.
So getting that pipe removed and clearing that with you, what would be the next step after that?
After that, and I'll start right away, but I'll start working with my supervisor to make sure I completely understand the new protocols and see if we can create an area that works better for their harvesters over there.
But does that still create a moot point with their licensing with the DEP?
No, there might be another piece that's added to the license that says like, you'll report when there's a failure at the plant, but other than that, I don't think it should affect much.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can't get that small area, probably just a point-to-point closure there. That would close if there was a discharge with the wastewater treatment plant. It's like all the rest that have an inch of water or so.
Yeah,
Oh,
so it would probably look similar to like, if you look at the closures around the Machias wastewater treatment plant, they have a prohibited area right around the discharge that's no harvest is allowed. And then there's a conditionally approved area that's further down. And so that's kind of the idea of what I'd be looking at adding. So I'd change some of the prohibited area to conditionally approved,
That'd be nice.
if I'm allowed to. None
So
of this is
seeing-
guaranteed, unfortunately, but
Right. Seeing as you guys don't have any idea of what the pipe is, do you think there's perhaps any chance that Kim would?
yeah, I don't know if she would know about it at all.
But it doesn't appear to be, doesn't appear to be added in.
Right, the numbers aren't going up, so
Right.
the odds are it's just a dead pipe, but.
Yeah, but I
somebody like
mean, our
Anderson sends the equipment up pipes to, you could
You know,
send
you have to tap into it somehow, and how do you know?
at least they find out how much distance they would go before it stopped somewhere, so then they can measure up the road exactly in a line to see where it was.
So I guess what would either your guys' or Hannah's suggestion be, saying like, we did find somebody and we go through all the avenues trying to figure out what it is, whose it is, and we can't figure it out. I mean, is the next suggestion just looking into hiring somebody and then chopping the pipe and then tracing it? But what if we find out that it is something?
yeah, then it
Yeah.
would have to be
Right.
fixed before we could move forward with any evaluations.
It sounds like we're in the point now where we gotta chop it off where it is right now and get rid of it and go from there.
Is that something that you guys can help facilitate us with, trying to figure out what it is?
No, that's the town that does that mostly. Oh, you were
Yeah.
talking, to someone else,
Yeah,
sorry.
I'm sorry.
Hard to tell.
We can start with really giving you some numbers and resources of people that are qualified to do things like that, because we have people that really
Yeah.
rely on doing that and start there and see what it would take. I don't know if we have.
Yeah, I mean, without knowing whose pipe it is, I don't know if we have the authority to tap into it.
Well, that's the thing, it's not, I don't think, I'm not asking like, well, I want you guys to figure this out and cut it for us and pay us. That's what I'm asking, is like, maybe you have some resources to ask around or try to figure out if anybody does know, if you know any of the property owners or caretakers or anybody in the area that work there, or.
I don't know. So the unknown quantity of it, if it was some known, if somebody's putting a pipe into tidal area like this pipe, where is that's typically a DMR authority that should be a record of that, but it probably predates whenever they were. And so we don't have a record of it. So I guess seems like that's the authority to rely upon.
Speak to them. That might be a
to
good
find
idea,
out
yeah.
Whether or not, you can access
Right.
this pipe to find out what it's, if you want to do something about it.
Do you, Hannah, do you think DMR is the next step to talk to them about it, or?
Well, DEP would do licensing for overboard discharges like that. DEP might be the place to go to.
Okay.
But
And
I'm
I
not, sure
mean-
this is where we hit that runaround where the town, no one really has clear authority. The plumbing inspector is who we usually go to, and you can contact Brent Lawson also. But that generally is more around leach fields and septic systems than,
And who is he?
he is the state plumbing inspector.
Okay.
And I can send you his contact information.
So would it behoove us to start with the town plumbing inspector?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, if we had to hire someone, we do have a little bit of a budget if we thought it was worth it, if we had to.
Well, these guys, you know, like I said, they have to have guys who can trace where the pipes are going, or if there's an issue coming out of a pipe.
All right,
Just can't believe it's a rubber pipe.
well, I think that was
I
pretty,
never even heard of rubber discharge pipe.
I hadn't either. I hadn't seen it. I was down there thinking. And
Yeah, cast iron or PVC.
well,
I
maybe
didn't
we'll
see
get
any
a hold of Kim and see.
Of course, we used to
See
dip
if
the
that would
the
help.
pipes because the clams grew bigger.
right? Well, thank you. I think, I know I learned a lot right there.
Yeah,
Thank you guys for,
Yeah.
especially for this. Do you want this back?
If you need
Yeah.
that, you can keep that. I mean, it's on, I just pulled it off.
Okay. Yep, thank you.
yeah, main thing was just getting
Thank you,
access to
Adam.
the locals and having another place for the local people today. That's why we're trying to do this. We attempted it back in 2014 or so. And it just fell off the radar screen, so we're looking back into it.
Well, we were talking about it and then we looked through, Claire was looking through the records and there was no record of it.
There wasn't much in there. It was, like Ed said, back from 2016 or 17 was the last we'd heard anything.
Yeah, we did have a problem and we rectified that. And
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
the major, I believe, probably was the major contributor to the
Yeah.
high numbers you were seeing that when Hannah was testing in there back then. Right now, all the numbers that I've seen on your website, the geometric mean for the testing is low. It's like.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. That's great.
And I don't know if you have any other information other than that. They all seem to be in the threes, very, very low. I mean, we're allowed up to 31 fecals a day, 14 for the month, so 3 is.
Yeah,
Well,
Yeah,
that's
and
awesome.
it's jumped up this year a little bit. I think it's at 23 or 24 right now, but that's not something to be concerned about. That can happen. But yeah.
Dollars.
And then part of our evaluation will be double checking that we don't see anything coming out of those pipes anymore, but like they had said, they found the issue that was tied up to the storm drains, so we're not very concerned about that at this point.
So where do you think we should leave it, David? Like, what would be our next step potentially? Speaking to,
I think talk to Kim,
yeah.
I think talk to Kim.
all right. All right, well, thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah,
For
sure.
coming by with your evening.
So if you see David down there cutting rubber pipe, just keep on driving by.
Torch down there, you smell rubber, you know what's going on.
All right, anybody else have anything on that? Maybe we can move on.
No,
All right. Well, I wouldn't be mad at you guys if you ran like the wind.
See ya.
I appreciate you guys coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, you have any questions?
We're learning, you guys knew this. I know it'd been asked before, but I really appreciate you clarifying that. That helps us quite a bit.
Are you going to keep what Ed gave you, or do you want me to put it in the file over here?
Put it in
Okay,
the file.
thank you.
And Hannah or any of the others, if you need to reach me, you can find my email on the town's website through the Public Works Department's director@NC Desert.
Okay,
Or contact me.
Or contact Claire.
I'll put you in touch.
She can, yeah.
well, it's good to see you again.
Awesome, guys. Well, thank you very much. You guys have a good rest of your evening. Stay cool. All right, what do you got from Peterson?
All right, so we'll move on to the update from the Army Corps permit for the clam recruitment boxes, and I brought show and tell just so people understand, have an idea of what we're doing. I know David and some people do. So we have been able to get on the permit with Bar Harbor instead of it was like $250 to get our own. It wasn't exorbitantly expensive, but since it's the same region. We were allowed, because Chris was allowed a bunch more sites. Chris Peterson was allowed more sites than what Bar Harbor's using. So we were allowed to just add on his permit without any additional cost to us. This is the boxes here, if anyone hasn't seen them, the whole, so what's happening here,
Yeah.
Earl, is we're gonna place these soon before the clams spawn.
Yeah. right.
And hopefully some of that spawn will fall. We're gonna count, we're gonna take and dig a little bit
Oh, yeah.
and see count how many little baby clams we find before we put this down.
Right.
And then we're gonna put it down in some spots that we have permitted,
Right.
Otter Cove.
Yeah,
And that's what we wanted the committee to come up with the others. We were gonna do Sergeant's Cove. And then we have a couple other sites I'm gonna read that we haven't decided, and we thought maybe we'd have the committee figure out. It might be one of them that we chose, but
I tell you,
baby clams settle in here and don't get eaten by the crabs.
What do
And
you
then-
call
Yeah.
that?
This is a clam recruitment box.
Yeah,
So any spawn clams would settle in here and maybe be protected from crab predation. And it's just to show if there is clam recruitment happening at that spot, we'll count next to it after this in the fall. Dig the mud beside it with a little like 4-inch measurer, count how many babies, then measure, count how many, rinse this out, count how many in here. And it can show that there are clams settling, but they're just getting eaten up by crab predation or something like that. So it's just a simple way to get some data. And Bar Harbor has several in Otter Cove. They're gonna have 2, 1 north and south, maybe 3. And then Chris Peterson has helped us to have, we're gonna have mirroring ones on our side since we split the cove. And so do I have it here? So we kind of brainstormed some sites and we got on the permit. We have 6 sites approved: Sergeant's Cove, Soames Harbor, Gilpatrick Cove. Oh yeah, Head of Harbor by Astiku. That was one we kind
oh,
of,
yeah, here.
and then the ones that we definitely are gonna do is Otter Cove, north and south. Those are the only ones that Chris is.
Over at the Shell heap.
Well, these are the sites that we have approved on the permit, yeah, through Army Corps and all that,
But
so,
that peninsula out there also grows good flounders,
yeah. Well, so
like flounder.
I just thought I'd get your guys' input, David and Earl, so we're definitely gonna do the Otter Cove sites. We could do up to 6, but we don't have to at all.
Yeah,
So-
the Astiku one's a good one.
That's
because
what I
it
thought.
doesn't get that many people down there, cause you gotta worry about, oh, what's this? And they start taking it out.
Yeah, we're gonna write Town of Mount Desert
Yeah,
on it,
That
and
helps.
please do not disturb or something like that. I think you're right. That's what I wanted to do too.
Town of Mount Desert explosives do not.
Yeah,
But so Chris and I he's gonna show, we're gonna do on Tuesday, we're gonna set his Bar Harbor ones this coming Tuesday on the tide at like 6:30 in the morning over to Otter Creek. If you wanted to, if you're bored, David, I know you're probably chasing something, grass or something growing, but anybody that wanted to come over and see, and then I don't think we're gonna do our boxes too on Tuesday. I think he was just gonna show me, but we have to do ours pretty soon. Cause I guess the clams haven't been,
No, next couple of weeks.
yeah, Damerscota hasn't started spawning yet, but there's a time frame that we have to get them in so we can get the data. And it's a pretty basic thing. I just thought it would be cool because it will add to Bar Harbor's data for Otter Cove, and then Chris isn't gonna be doing it next year, so we'd kind of have to, if we wanted to continue doing it, but it would just be neat because,
It's baseline data.
yeah, I mean, maybe we're gonna.
An idea what.
It helps you to understand the effects of climate change on the soft shell plant.
Yeah. I thought it was a pretty basic, simple thing, and maybe get some engagement with some other people, that are also potentially interested. I know you're great, can't wait to go at 6:30 on Tuesday, Brian.
I'll bring the kids.
It's so funny though, this science stuff gets to be so much like fishing or actually clamming, because all of a sudden you have to go on the tide and all this, which it sounds like you're planning a fishing adventure or digging adventure.
It is fun to have the kids around.
Yeah, I was thinking of
I've
bringing,
done projects with the college and the
Yeah.
high school with 15, 20 kids, and they're just, it's a riot, and they like to learn, they want,
Yeah.
they want
that's my other
Yeah.
spoke on the wheel of this, is that
Made kids, I didn't talk
to.
about
Also,
it.
good PR. with the-
exactly, yeah, does that sound good to you, Brian, if we did ask the coup?
Yeah.
So we'd be doing either 2 or 3, I think 2 in Otter Cove, and then we have 9 boxes in case but we only need 6. We only have 6 sites approved. Would you, if we had the time or motivation to, I was kind of really curious to try one in Sergeant's Cove.
Yeah, that's a good
It
start.
wouldn't really take much once it's in place. He said the only hard part is carrying them out of there because they're packed with mud after they've sat. Like
Yeah,
a sled or something to put them in, because they weigh a little bit.
you can kind of sift it out.
That's what I was thinking, sift it in the water,
right
yeah.
Then and there.
Have you
or
done these
Oh,
before,
yeah,
David?
You can either
Good.
sift them out or just do a survey right.
Right there, yeah.
Yeah, it just helps to have a brook handy to just, and you got little measuring devices where you can just filter the silt and plans right there and get the survey. Now, if it's a lot, which, Chris has found 1,000 to 2,000
Really?
in one of those boxes before, and then you've got to have 4 or 5 kids with very good vision to find all the little baby clams and measure them, and it can go on for an hour or so.
Okay, well, good. I'm glad you got some experience with it. I think if I have the time, and depending on how it goes, if you guys are up, would support it, I'd like to try to put one in Sergeant's Cove as well, since it's approved.
And it's
Yeah.
safe, there too.
Yeah, from getting slammed around and people too, yeah, so
Safe and
we would be
slow.
looking at Sergeant's Cove. Astaku, head of the harbor, and the Otter Cove sites, north and south. And these all have lat long, that's approved. So it's a pretty simple project
I say we go for it.
yeah, it's more complicated on paper than it is, I think, in reality, so. Do you got, Hannah, or have you guys seen any communities do this and have anything positive or negative to say about it, or a word of advice?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of towns up and down the coast, and to include in the state that have, and other researchers that have done a lot of different trials with these boxes, and there's definitely been, mixed results. There hasn't, things have been kind of up and down, whether you're catching clams or you have problems with your gear. They can foul.
Yeah.
You have to kind of maintain your gear and stuff, but most of the people that I've worked with, the towns that are mostly commercial harvesters, they'll try it once or twice to answer a question, and then they kind of move on because it is it can be fairly intensive. And if they're not regularly catching thousands of clams every time they put out boxes, they don't really see the continued value and continuing to buy equipment and maintain boxes, take time to put them out, maintain them, and then pull them and then process them. So they're kind of more being used to answer questions, and when you have people like Chris, who's a professor and scientist, he likes to do the scientific work, and he will continue to do the 5-year project. But when it comes to towns kind of on their own, it's more of a shorter term and looking at specific questions. Why aren't we getting clams here? Is it because are we even getting settlement or not? So it's more to look at more questions that can be answered immediately versus a 5-year project. Mostly just because of, like you're talking now, getting the gear and getting the people out there to do the work. And that's why I was kind of interested to see if maybe we can have some sort of role. I was going to talk, it's Rusty, right? I was going to talk to you and Chris. I've talked to Chris a little bit, but I'd be interested in talking to you guys to see if there might be some sort of role for me or for the department to get involved. I'm guessing the Bar Harbor stuff, Chris has pretty well got it covered as far as having students and doing the write-ups and stuff like that. But if I could help you guys out maybe a little bit with your stuff, I could maybe talk to you and Chris about that and see if there's any role for us in there. If there's not, that's fine.
No, that would be great, because I'm a good boots on the ground guy, but I'm terrible on the tail end with follow-up and paperwork. So if I had someone either that telling me about dates and stuff, or this is how or what we can or need to do. So that would be, yeah, if you want to reach out to Chris or I about that, I would be all for that.
Okay, yeah, what I'll do then, if you don't mind, I'll start by talking to Chris to see what he thinks. I mean, I'm listening to you, I sounds like you guys could use help with your other places like Sargent's and Astico. And potentially Otter, once you guys put those in, and then, like you said, to help kind of with the follow-up and towards the end and looking at the results. I'm guessing from talking, if I talk to Chris, he's gonna say Bar Harbor's in pretty good shape and to work more with you guys, but I'll talk to him. See what he thinks, and I can talk to you, and we can, if you guys want some help, we can schedule something and try to get those out there, and maybe I can help you guys with keeping an eye on them, and then in the end, when we pull them up, process them and look at the information and stuff.
Yeah, that would be great. And like you say, we don't know, so we'd try it this year. And if we, at least try it this year and just see how it goes.
Yeah,
and
I wouldn't discourage you guys from trying it for a couple of years, because like I said, sometimes you might get 0, and then some years you might get hundreds or potentially 1,000 in those boxes. You just don't know. So it might take more than 1 year to answer a question. And then the other problem that sometimes you get is you get green crabs in the boxes. So
yeah,
that can affect what you see. And that's been another kind of frustration for towns, is you put the boxes out and you open them up and there's just clamshell and green crabs in there. So it's not perfect, but at least it can help you look at what you're getting. If you're getting any settlement at all, you might not get a bunch of clams to seed, but you'll get an idea if you're at least getting settlement there, and maybe even look at some of your growth a little bit.
do they need to be cleaned, the top screen? Do they ever need to be scrubbed? Does anybody know? I don't know.
Yeah, that's kind of place dependent. There's some places where they stay fairly clean. It'll depend upon a lot about, your algae growth and what you have from marine life and your current and your bottom type. And other places they get super fouled, almost buried or covered in algae. And that can be a problem if, with settlement and, trying to keep things alive inside. So yeah, maybe that's something we could talk about. Once, and you'll learn more about that. You'll learn what kind of sites Sargent Cove and Astico are and Otter Creek are. And Chris obviously has some background with Otter, so he can give us some advice there on what he's experienced. But because most towns don't have help throughout the summer, a lot of times the boxes just get set and then pulled. So sometimes they come back and the boxes are all gone, or one of the posts has broken off and the box is up, up vertical, or it's pretty well buried. So it definitely helps to have some maintenance, or at least to check on them periodically, probably once a month, probably, maybe a little bit less, but probably once a month, to get an idea of what's happening.
Okay, cool.
And if
Great.
they're close to the road or easy access, it wouldn't be that hard if you're just driving by to kind of take a look at them from the, if you have binoculars or, you have easy line of sight, you can kind of check them that way too, without having to go out to look at them.
Yeah, Astico will be the hardest spot there is. You have to hike down in there, but
Yeah.
I'm glad that you're familiar with it, because I think it's just another thing that a tool we can use to learn. I'm glad David's had some familiarity with it.
And we can let people like Adam know where they are, so you can keep an eye on for us.
Just, no, I was just gonna say, like, I could definitely help out with the Askew area out in the boat, and I could keep an eye on it, so I could help out with that if that's a difficult spot.
You ever see people wandering around down there?
No, rarely, yeah.
Yeah, maybe on the path, but yeah, if we get them in place, maybe I could give you a follow-up just to let you know where we end up actually putting them. And then you would know if anyone ever, and we're gonna put I think we'll put the harbor master, that's what Chris said. I think you put the harbor master number possibly on them. I'm gonna have to, I'll talk to you about that, but I think that's what Chris recommended. So if someone found them like washed up or wondered what they were, they'd have a number to contact, and you could just say, oh, that's part of our clam box, it's fine. Or our guy needs to come get it because it's washed up.
Right, yeah,
So-
that's a good idea, because then, there's 24/7 down there, so I'll get the message either way, so.
That would be okay with you guys? I mean, I
Yeah,
wouldn't
no,
foresee it.
that's fine, yep. Yep.
Okay, thank you. All right, cool. Well, does anyone else have anything on that? I think we can put that to rest?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Should we vote on, should we have a vote on the site?
Yeah, you can do that, have a motion of what sites you want to.
Yeah, so I would make a motion to approve for the Otter Cove 2 sites and the Sergeant's Cove site and the Asticue site for the clam recruitment boxes.
Second,
Oh,
Or. Oh, nuts.
All right. So allocation plan,
allocation, yep,
okay, so that I just put in here for your information that I got the approval from Meredith White, if you remember, she's the new program supervisor. So anyways, this is the letter, it goes in our file that we were approved for our allocations. I have scheduled the ad to go into the paper to notify everybody that licenses go on sale. I guess it'll be July 3rd because July 1st is a Saturday. So, but that's
sounds
all,
good.
all set for the paper.
yep.
Okay. That's all I had on that.
If we move on to the management plan,
Okay, so I looked through all my records that I could locate, both digital and hard copy. And I can't find anything about the management plan, so I can't tell you what happened, 23 years ago with the paperwork, so I'll continue to see if something surfaces, but
See if I get any paperwork.
So you probably got it at home,
Yeah, well, I've got everything now for the last 75 years.
so,
How's
so Hannah, if I don't stumble across it at this point, because I've made,
Yeah,
an actual effort to find it, so now if I just happen to stumble on it, that's great, but otherwise I'm thinking maybe next fall or something, Hannah, if you wanna give us direction on what you need from us, or a template or something that we can work on.
Yeah, no problem. Meredith had, and I'll forward this to you guys. Back in beginning of April, Meredith sent out an email. Actually, I'm sorry, I'm not sure when the template come out, but after the letter came out beginning of April, Meredith sent out a template with instructions and suggestions. And I'll forward that to you guys. It's really pretty straightforward. It's pretty general, and it's similar to what you see in the annual review type stuff. It's basically wanting you guys to think about, what your goals and objectives are, and then how you're going to achieve them. So, it can be anything from, like in your annual review, that you use conservation closures, or you use the recruitment boxes to enhance spat fall, or you're doing the water quality. So it's more about what your goals are and objectives are now, and then how you're going to achieve them. And so it's basically just a little bit of explanation, just building upon that a little bit. But I'll forward the template. It has a lot of information. It doesn't have to be very long at all. And it doesn't have to have a huge amount of detail. I think it's pretty achievable for you guys. And like I said, it's kind of driven by the annual report. So if you think about it that way, but first, I think it's page 2 on the annual review that you guys just filled out. It talks about, limits and licenses, or do you maximize to maximize, or do you have unlimited? Are you commercial or recreational? Do you use closures or limits? What do you want to do, and then how do you achieve it? So it's pretty basic, pretty straightforward, nothing outside of what you've been doing all along. It's just kind of an update from what you may have had, 20 something years ago, just saying, hey, can you guys take another look at this? Where are you at now, and how do you want to keep moving forward? And the template is pretty helpful, and it should give you guys the basis for what you need to get it done. And I'm certainly here to help out with it too, if you have any questions.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Alright, so
okay.
when we get this in play and we schedule a meeting next fall, I'll send it out ahead of time so everybody can look at it and maybe put some thoughts down and then.
Yeah.
Hopefully at the meeting we can compile something.
Yeah.
Fall sounds good.
Yeah, if you guys
No.
want to draft something up, I'm happy to look at it after the fact and make any, comments or suggestions that might help you out.
Okay,
All right, awesome.
Thank you.
Can we go back to the allocation plan real quick?
sure.
I just noticed underneath your letter here, the recreational license is sold that you attach with it. That's quite a few. I mean, there's,
Oh, you mean back here?
yeah,
Oh, that was gonna be next.
oh, I'm sorry.
Current residential plan license
Oh, yeah.
holders report.
Didn't even have to go back
No,
into your
all
real
right.
point.
Perfect.
So now we're going
All
forward.
right,
Okay, so, I believe at last meeting, you guys wanted to know who
Yeah.
had the recreational licenses
Right.
sold. Only 2 commercial licenses were sold, so these are the other people, for, I guess, July of 22 to current. And just so you know, I've had a couple of other people in the last couple of weeks come in to get a recreational license, but when I told them they'd have to pay the full price, for 1 month,
Right.
basically, they were like, oh, we'll wait till July. So,
right.
yeah. So anyway, and I think the reason you wanted this, if I'm not mistaken, was so that you could reach out to people to see if anyone was interested in.
Right.
Yeah.
get on the committee.
And I mean, the other thing I was just thinking about looking at it, I didn't realize there were so many people. There's 11 on here. And 2 out of the 11 are out of towners. It'd be interested to reach out to them, not only reach out to them individually, but maybe we could get more of a response out of our information. Trying to like ask them to give some sort of information or participate, You're buying this license, why are you buying it? Other than the obvious.
Or a mailing. of
Where,
the-
yeah,
when-
where, like, if you wanna help out with like. Trying to give some information and feedback as to, areas that you're going, what are you seeing when you're digging?
Or just coming to a meeting, invite the recreational license,
I think that's a good
Well,
idea, next fall, when we have the next meeting, you might
Yeah.
wanna send out a simple mailing to all of these people saying we'd
Yeah.
like to have some input from all of you and see what happens.
yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Cause people are even buying them in November and January.
Yeah, that's when I included the dates that we sold them.
That's all I had on it,
Yeah, it's a great
I mean,
idea.
there's only
That's all it took.
4 of us sitting around this table and there's 11 people that bought recreational licenses, so.
Right?
Obviously, if they're gonna be spending either the 30 or the $50, they must be doing something with it,
Right.
cause they have the option to get the commercial.
Yeah.
It's a good
Hey,
point, it's a
I've
good
got
point,
that.
isn't it, Earl?
I've got a commercial state license,
Ah,
but I hadn't gone any further
Yep.
with everything going on. And my
Well,
wife just put it
all right,
all
well,
July 1st, you can get the,
up.
July 3rd, you get the,
Bait. I want bait for flounder.
yeah. Well, July 3rd, you can
And
get
I
the
tell
town.
you, Gary Moore's, when I was digging, they grew.
we're gonna,
I
we're gonna
feel
move
that
on to
if you
new, we're
go
gonna move
quick-
on to new business.
Yes, good.
So we can go home and have dinner. We're almost
Okay,
there.
I haven't ate.
I know, I can
like
tell.
my lobster.
I can tell.
I'm coming over.
I don't know if I don't have any new business.
The
Nope.
only thing that I wanna know about Gary Moore, can you dig it or not?
Don't ask me, ask David.
They,
David
they,
knows.
they said they closed it for seeding,
Hmm.
because I was digging down there and what I dug, I kept getting more clients. I mean, they were growing.
I don't know if you got quick access, Hannah. Earl asked if there was, a cove.
Gary.
Yeah.
Harry
Gary
Moore,
Moore.
is there an issue with Gary Moore Cove? Is there some closure? I don't think
Up
so.
there where the brook comes out.
Right at the mouth of some sound.
Towers Brook.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, that used to have a seasonal conditional area, but that's opened up. I think that opened up last
It
year.
is
There
open.
you go.
Wow.
Right from the
I
person
Then
herself.
they have a little, just a little sliver.
I tell
right
you,
on
that
the-
is the best
right
digging
on the
I ever
south
had.
side. Yeah, there was always a sliver on the south side of that cove that was, has that closure been lifted?
Near as
Obviously it
that.
has.
Let me double check the line. The wastewater treatment plant area starts right there.
Yeah, but there was a little sliver that was kind of by itself. I was just looking at my paperwork on that.
Yeah, that little sliver was reclassified and that's approved now.
Oh, it is.
Oh, beautiful.
So that's good, yeah. Well,
That's
I'll have
great.
to look it up.
That is-
So you have a little more acreage down there.
Hey, good.
Yeah. Well, listen,
I tell you, I
guys,
really enjoyed digging that and the clients come back and I dug the first and second generation there.
well, we don't want you to get busted and they have you in the paper.
Well, now we know. So do we have any other business that should be
That's
conducted,
great.
folks? No.
Gary.
Are we, I'm gonna make a motion for adjournment. I
Next
second it.
meeting,
Next meeting?
You should
Do,
always,
do we need it? Okay. Thank,
well, you should always, before you close, schedule the next meeting.
I think David's right. Good point.
Okay, so I did. bring my
October?
Phone, so I can look at this calendar. Okay, so you're thinking October? All right, I have. Oh.
Fall a long time. I know.
I look, it looks like, October 5th is available.
Fifth.
5th, that's Thursday.
Anything later in the month?
Yeah.
Well, on the 19th, I have a sustainability committee meeting scheduled until 6 p.m.
Six.
And then on the 26th. I scheduled myself on vacation. So I have vacation on the 26th, but I suppose I could zoom in.
Well, if you're on vacation, don't want to do that to you.
Okay.
No.
I'm not touching that.
Then the next one would be November 2nd.
Let's do that. Let's go for November 2nd.
November.
Okay, and then, yeah, that's the week before election, but that should be okay. Okay, so you want to say November?
That's a quiet week, right?
Say, oh, yes. Hey, if I don't have it ready by then,
Forget it.
you know.
All right, let's do it when Claire's on vacation.
Okay.
All right, well, thank
Oh,
all the Hannahs, for answering some questions and shedding some light on some stuff we don't know about. And I guess I will now make a motion for adjournment.
Second it.
Have a good summer, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
All right, thank
you, Hannah.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye, good night.
Okay, so now. I don't know.
All right.